Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to be going over how to make a simple damage system and a heal function. So when you get hit multiple times, you can walk over a health pool or a health object and then heal straight back up. We're going to be covering blueprint interfaces, blueprint components, and using structures as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, what you want to do is make a first or third person template. I'll be using a third, but scalable, and call it damage system. System 3. Just damage system or whatever you want to call it, and then click create. Once everything is loaded, you'll first want to make a damage system folder. So you can right click, create a new folder called damage system. And inside this damage system folder, we want to make a blueprint interface. So if you right click, go to blueprint interface, and call this something like BPI underscore damageable. Double click to open this up. And we're going to make 4 new functions. Functions in a blueprint interface hold a type like Boolean, float, integer, that type of stuff. And then you can call it once you apply it to like an actor. So in this scenario, we're going to be using a third person character. So the first function we want to make is a health function, and we want the output to be amount and want it to be a float. Second function is going to be max health. The output is going to be a float again, and just call this max health. Oh, spell that wrong. Max health. The third function will be heal, and this one will have an input and an output. It will input an amount and it will output the new health. So call that new health. And the last function we're going to make is a take damage function. And this function is going to have an input and an output. The input we'll call damage taken, and the type will be a structure. So if you go back to the content drawer, right click, go to blueprint, and then to structure, and call it something like s underscore take damage. If you open it up, you can see you can add new variables and structures. So we're going to call this one amount and make it a float. And the reason we're only going to be doing this amount, but the reason we don't just add it straight here is because this is also where you'd add like a blocking system or a parrying system, and this is where you put the variables all inside this take damage function. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to be doing a basic damage system, so the only variable we will need is an amount. So we're going to go to the type and type in s underscore take damage to get the struct we called, or made, sorry, and then the output will be was damaged, and this will be a boolean. Okay, so you compile and save that. Make sure you compile it and go to your third person character, which will be in content, third person, blueprints, and then third person character. So we'll want to go to the class settings and make sure you click on BP third person character self, and then we can add, or if we just go type in interface, so now what I want to do is find the third person character, which will be in your contents, third person, blueprints, and BP third person character, or first if you're using a first person template. You want to go to the class settings, and underneath implement interfaces, you just want to click, or next to it, sorry, you want to click add, and then search for BPI underscore damageable, or whatever you named it. And as you'll see on the left, an interfaces tab comes up. And if this hasn't come up yet, it's probably because you haven't compiled in the interface. So make sure you do that, and then it will definitely pop up. Just quickly though, we're going to move the third person character to the damage system folder, like so, just so everything's together. Okay, so we want to make a blueprint component now, and essentially what a blueprint component is just basically like just a blueprint space where you can add functionality and then apply that to a different actor. So instead of just making it so the damage system is only on our third person character, we're going to make it so it can be on the enemy, so it can be on an animal, so it can be on a cube, just whatever we want, so we don't have to keep remaking the system. So as you see, you get actor component and call it BPC underscore damage system. I double click to open this up and want to make similar variables as we did in the blueprint interface. So we had a health and max health, we'll be making those two. So if you go to the variables section, just get health, which was a float. You can get max health, which was also a float. And then the last one we're going to get is dead, which we want to be a boolean. Compile and set the health value to about 50, just starting off. The max health value to about 100. Okay, then we want to make the actual healing functionality. So we'll create a function called heal, and we have to make it the same input and output as we did in the blueprint interface. So if you go here, as you can see, it's amount float, new health float. So we'll do the same here, amount, which is a float, and new health, which is automatically set to a float. Okay, and how we're basically going to do this is we want to check first if the player is dead, because if they are dead, we don't want them to be able to heal. So we want to get a branch, and for the condition of this branch, we want to hold control and drag in to get is dead, drag off and type not boolean, and then connect this to the condition. Yeah, I'll just put that up there. So if the player isn't dead, we will true, complete this, and if they are dead, well then we'll do nothing. So first what we want to do is get the current health and add by the amount that we heal, which we'll set the value for this at a later date. Then what we want to do next is set this as the new amount of health from true, and then sorry, I accidentally deleted the return node, and then just plug that in like so, and then that is your heal functionality. Okay, now let's go to the third person character and actually implement this from the blueprint component to these interfaces. So first we'll actually need to add the blueprint component. So you want to click add and type in BPC and then get BPC damage system. Just click enter. Okay, so we'll do health first. We'll drag the blueprint component in and search get health and plug into the amount. For max health, we'll do the same. Drag in the blueprint component, get max health, and connect it like so. And for heal, we'll do a similar thing. We'll just drag in the blueprint component, get heal. Oh, sorry, just type in heal, and connect it like so, and connect these like so. Okay, and now we've implemented the healing functionality. So now we actually need to make the take damage functionality. So I'm going to make another function, call this take damage, and in this function we want to make a macro, and this macro we can just call it m_damage. We're going to have one input and two outputs. So the first input will be then, and this will be an execution pin, and that'll be that one there, and the output will be do damage and no damage. And the reason we're using a macro is because early on we were talking about how you can make blocking and parrying and that stuff inside the struct. You would add those pins here. So in the input you would put blocking as a boolean and parrying as well as a boolean, and then you would sort out how to make that all work in here. But obviously we're not doing that this video, but it's still good practice just to do it this way. So when you actually want to add in, or if you go away and research a different video, this would also be a good way to do it, so you'll just be able to add it on very easily. So first of all, we want to check if the player is dead. So is dead, not boolean, and then put it into the condition. So if the player isn't dead, we want to do damage, and if they are dead, we don't want to do damage. Then we're just going to call this macro. I'll just drag it in and do that like so. Also in the take damage function, we want to make the same inputs and outputs as in our blueprint component. So that was damage taken. I'll spell that wrong. Damage taken and was damaged. Don't know why there's so much caps on these. Was damage. So let's do that here as well. Input damage taken, which we used our struct s underscore take damage, I believe. Yep, and the output was damaged, which was a boolean. We'll do it like so. First, you want to break this. So break s take damage to get the amount, like the amount of damage that we're gonna take, which again we will assign later on. So you want to get the health variable and subtract the amount of damage from it. We also want to put I'm actually just realizing, sorry, in the heal function we also want a clamp float, so it doesn't go higher than the maximum amount of health, as in you can't heal higher than the maximum amount of health, and then plug that there like so. Sorry about that. Then back in take damage, I want to subtract it, then set this new amount of health, and then we want to get a less or equal to, or equal, put that to 0, left click and hold B to get a branch and put that as condition, and then we want to get is dead and set that to true. I'll just explain it before I move on. So from the take damage here, we want to subtract it from the amount of health, and then we want, if you can do damage, then that will set the amount of health that was subtracted, and if the amount of health is less than or equal to 0, we want to set is dead to true. And then next, what we want to do is call an event dispatcher, and we'll just call this on death. Then we want to call this like so, and then plug that there. We want to highlight this, Control C, and then Control V here, because if you do no damage, then you're not damaged. And that will pretty much be it for that. Next, what we want to do is again implement this. So we'll go to the third person character to take damage, and then we'll similarly call it like we did the health. So it was take damage, and do take damage, not take damage message. We'll be using message layer. Let's plug these in like so, and then you've implemented it. Now we actually need to call the event call on death. So we're going to do that in the construction script. We want to get the blueprint, the BPC damage system, and get bind on death, or a bind event to on death, to plug that in. And from here we want to create event like so. And we're calling create event because you can't make a custom event inside a construction script. So we want to go to the event graph, create a custom event called dead, and we want to make it so the character falls to the ground, and then like the what's it called, their body can like have a realistic, I don't know, death. I'll show you. So you want to simulate physics on the mesh, and want to click true to that, and off the mesh again we want to set collision enabled like so, and we want to put it to physics only. We're also going to get the capsule component and connect it in here. Let's move this up, but I'm going to disconnect it for now to show you just to show you what will happen and why I'm adding it like so. So do that for now, and now we need to call this in the construction script. it's supposed to have a function with a drop down, but I've realized for me it keeps making me have to restart. So, or actually you can just press compile. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, then just get dead from here and then press compile, and that'll be that. Okay, now finally we actually need to make it so when you press your left mouse button, it does damage. So go to the event graph and get left mouse button, like so. And on pressed, we want to get a sphere trace for objects. And the start location, we want to be the actor's location. So we're going to get actor location. And for the end, we want to get the character's forward vector. So it's get actor forward vector. And make sure it's not get forward vector. Make sure it's not this one. Make sure it's definitely get actor forward vector, or it won't work properly. And then we want to multiply this by an amount, typically about 100. But we want to right click on this pin and put it to float single precision, and just put this to about 100. Then you want to add this and the get actor location together, and that will be the end location. Put the radius to about 20. Object types, you want to get make array, and you want to set this to pawn. So this will only work with a pawn. If it touches a pawn, then you'll have our on success and working. Then for duration, and want to set this to about a second. And that's pretty much that done for now. Okay, now I want to get a branch with the condition of the return value. Out of hit, we want to break it, break the hit result. And on hit actor, we want to get take damage message, and we want this to be a message because our enemy is going to also have this damage system, so we don't just want to be able to hit anything and make it take damage. We want it to actually be in our system, so that's why it's message, take damage message. And just to show that it worked, we're going to get a spawn emitter at location. Just make this the explosion, and the location that we want to spawn it will be here. Okay, so from the top, once you click your left mouse button, it will make a sphere trace for objects. It will start at your location, and it will end a little bit in front of your actor location, so the forward vector, so the front of it. If you multiply it, add it with this, and then it gets just a little bit in front of you. The radius, which we've set to 20, I want it to be for duration so we can see it for duration, and we want it to draw for 1 second. And then we get the branch. If we hit something that has our BPI damageable on it, we want it to take damage and spawn an emitter at the location of the hit. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. So next, what's this? Damage taken on replaced. Damage taken. See where this is. Oh, see what the problem is. Put that there. And that should be fine. Okay, so now we actually want to make our enemy that we want to die. So we're gonna press Ctrl D to make our enemy, call it BP underscore enemy. And then we want to open it up, get rid of the camera boom and follow camera because we don't need that. Go to the event graph, and we're just going to take this off left mouse button. I'm actually going to put it to our event begin play, which we don't have. Okay, that's fine, we'll just get it. Cool. Event begin play, it's just here, and then we want to set the timer by event, and we're going to put 2 seconds and looping. And off this event, we want to get a custom event, just called something like attack. And here is where we will use all of this. Okay, so this is at the start of the game. When the game begins, there will be a timer of 2 seconds, and every 2 seconds it will play this, which obviously will hit us and then will make us die. If it hits us 5 times, because it will be doing a damage of 10. Oh, that reminds me actually. On where is it? Right there. Event graph. Want to go here and make S take damage to set the amount of damage that we want it to take, which is here, like so. We'll also have to do this for our enemy. So here, make S take damage and make it do 10 damage. Okay, and that'll be done for now anyways. So let's try it. Let's put the enemy in here, rotate it around, and play. Let's turn this engine scalability down. Don't have a super PC. Okay, let's start that. And as you can see, every 2 seconds it makes a sphere collision. And if we press it, it hits once, do it 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then they die. And as you can see, there are 2 problems here. 1, it keeps attacking after it dies, and 2, when we move our camera, it gets collided with the capsule. So that is why when we get event on dead, let's move this up a bit. Event on dead, we want to plug in this capsule component. So when we get to them, let's kill them. Camera works perfectly fine. And to stop them from being able to shoot us when they're dead, sorry, we want to get a branch here and get is dead from the blueprint component and a not boolean, and then plug that into the condition. So what this essentially does is, if the AI is not dead, which is true, then we want to start setting the time by event, and then everything works. And if the player is dead, which is the false, just does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's not working. It's not supposed to be on event begin play, it's supposed to be on the actual attack, so we'll just unplug that, put that back in there, and put this down here. And there we go, it stops. Okay, so now what we want to do is make a health bar, so we can see the amount of health that's being displayed. So let's go here, by pressing Control and Space, right click, go to User Interface and Widget Blueprint, use a widget, the WB underscore health bar, double click to open that up, and we'll make it so the health bar just goes on top of the person, like as you see in a game, just a normal health bar. So we'll go to Custom, and we'll change the overall canvas panel size from 200, or from whatever the default size is, to 220. 200 and the height 20. So get a canvas panel. Slot that in, like so. And then we'll get a progress bar and put it in there. Go to anchors, hold Control and Shift, and then click that to set all the anchors to the out position, and also align the progress bar with the canvas panel. We'll change the percent to 1, change the color to green. Actually, we're going to do the enemy health bar, not our health bar. Our health bar is going to be on the screen. Okay, so I want to bind it, and creating a binding, to make a new variable called damageable. So damageable, and we want it to be of type BPI, damageable, which is the blueprint interface we made. Click the eye to make it instance editable, or you can do it here and click expose and spawn. Hold Control to drag it in to get max health, or just have max health, sorry. And plug that there, and we also want to get health. If I could spell health right, be nice. And get that like so. and plug that in there. You want to get the amount and divide it by the max health to get the amount of health we have left. Click compile. I'm going to go to the enemy. We're going to go to the viewport, and we're going to click on mesh, and then we're going to add a widget. And let's call this health bar as well. Let's push this up above the head. Then want to go underneath user interface, change it from world to screen, and the draw size 200 to 20 by 20. You want to make sure you set this to screen. If not, you'll only be able to see the health bar when you're looking at it straight. If it's on world and if it's on screen, no matter where you go, you can see the health bar around them. I'll give you an example of that as well. Also make sure the draw size is accurate or that won't work. I'm going to go to the event graph. On event begin play, create a sequence by holding S and left clicking. And we want to plug, move this up a bit. And plug then into there. And want to create a widget. And want this to be our health bar. And set this to self. Again, if this damageable variable doesn't come up, it's because you haven't compiled it in here. So make sure you compile it. And then want to set the widget health bar. And that'll be perfectly fine. Let's compile, save, and that's the animal's health bar. As you can see, no matter where you go around it, you can see it. But if you set it to world, you can only see it at a specific angle, which isn't very nice. Let's put that back to screen, and we'll do that. And then they die. Okay, we actually need to implement the heal function as well. But first we'll put on a health bar for me. So create another widget. If you don't want to make this one, you can just bind this to the third person character just as you did here with all the same steps. I just want to make it look a bit better though. So we're going to get user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, wb underscore player health bar. Open it up. This one is going to be fill screen. Get a canvas panel. Plug that in. Get a progress bar. Here. Just stretch this out a bit. Push it up there. Make sure the anchor is at the top left. Then we'll put this to 1. Change it to color green. It's typically what the health bar is. Thin this down a bit. And then we want to create the same binding. So we want to get the damageable variable, which is our BPI. Let's go damageable, instance editable, expose on spawn, hold control, get it in, max health, and get your normal health. Your normal health. And I want to plug these in. And I want to get divide and divided by the max health and plug it into the return node. Like so. And then click compile. And since we're not attaching this to our character, you can genuinely just go to third person character and on event begin play, which is, I don't know why the event begin plays on here. It is what it is. Just call it event begin play. I want to create widget of play health bar, self, and add to viewport. Like so. Click compile, move it. And then that's your health bar. When you go into it, you take damage, and they've still got their health bar like that. Doesn't look amazing right now, but you can obviously change things up just to make it look a bit nicer. You can go to the designer, you can get an image here, drag it in, put it behind the health bar, and add like a custom style to it. If you do that, make sure the Z order is -1 to push it behind the health bar. It's not in front, and then you can get very creative with that. Now we're going to make the healing, or yeah, add in. So when we press H, so left mouse button, change that to H, we want to call our heal function, like so. And we want to heal by 10 as well. We get hit, press H, and we can now heal. And we obviously can't heal past the mats because of that lovely clamp flow. If you want to make it so you have to walk over something to heal, you don't just want to press H, you have to find something in the world to heal up, like bandages or whatever. You want to create a actor. We'll call it A_heal. We'll get a static mesh. Didn't spell it out. Like so. Just get there's a lamp in here. Lamp. Yeah, wall lamp. Just for example, we also want to put a box collision over this to actually set where we need to walk to touch it. And in the box collision, we want to go to on component begin overlap. We want to cast it to the BP_ third person character, and then we want to from here get heal. And again, just heal about 10. So if we place that in the world, move up a bit, we walk over it, we heal. I also want to destroy actor, just so it's not in the way. Just get destroy actor. And yeah, that will be pretty much all for the damage system. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you, and have a blessed day.